It will never fail to amaze me that people actually want to hear my little rambles on these characters. The essay for Cassandra was the one to win, but in the event you wanted to see a different character, don't fret, you'll still get to see what I have to say about them. That being said, let's get right into the essay. Here's a mandatory disclaimer. This is just for fun, and not everything I say is going to necessarily be canon. Overall, most of this is just going to be how I see her based on canon, so keep that in mind as you watch. Anyways, we all know Cassandra Dimitrescu. She's Alcina's middle daughter, and the most we know about her is that she's the most sadistic of her family and she's an incredible huntress. We can assume that because of her sadism and how she very clearly enjoys hurting other people, she spends a majority of her time in the cellar. This is my own headcanon and something I incorporate into my writing, but I like to think the notes we see in the cellar belong to Cassandra and things she's written about people or the human body. She also takes trophies of people and the beasts she's hunted, further confirmed by her chatter about stringing Ethan up or mounting his head on the wall. Now that we've discussed the basics of what we know and see in game, let's dig further into her character. If you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen the mini essays I've written in my captions about her, ranging anywhere from her being the most oblivious to romance to how protective she is of her family. I believe she takes on the role of the sadist and torturer to protect her siblings the most. She likely suffers a bit of middle child syndrome. What I mean by this is that she'll never be as good as Bela but share her responsibilities. She'll never receive the same praise, but even with everything she does, she'll never be as free as Daniela. She's canonically the sassiest and most sarcastic of the three daughters, something I think she likely uses as a way to pass off her feelings and emotions. Because of her responsibilities and the sibling rivalry she has, it can be assumed she uses her wit to brush things off so that she doesn't have to deal with it right at that moment. Teasing someone or annoying them until they change a subject she doesn't want to talk about seems more her speed. I also like to think Cassandra is an artist, which is another thing I implement into my writing. I doubt she really lets anyone know and likely threatens to dismember them if they find out. How dare someone find out she has an actual hobby aside from killing? But it would appear to be a way for her to distract herself or spend her time. After all, she can't always be a sadistic murderer that doesn't care about anyone, which I believe is just a facade she puts up anyway. She wants everyone to perceive her as this cruel and horrible person so that they stay away from her and her family, and she obviously succeeds. However, I don't really think she's always like that. After over 70 years of doing this, she's had to learn to enjoy it to some extent. She would have gone crazy otherwise. That being said, she's clearly still pretty human. She has confidence in herself and in her abilities, and for good reason. But even when you interact with her or she chases Ethan throughout the castle, it's pretty clear she's still human deep down. Yes, she's been corrupted and now tortures people and drinks their blood for a living. But realistically speaking, it would not make sense for her to be like that 24/7, which is where her other hobbies come in. Canonically, she enjoys hunting and taking trophies of her hunts, and it's a popular headcanon that she's an artist. I like to think she spends a lot of her time dissecting people or torturing them to find out more about weak spots in humans in order to better protect her family, should the need arise. Anytime I bring this up, people lose their minds, as if it's not canon that they've had people try to kill them before. The Dimitrescu family obviously doesn't need protecting. They're immortal, practically invincible, and they've been alive for nearly a century. They're a group of sadists that enjoy tormenting those they believe to be lesser than them. However, they still have human personalities. It wouldn't be unwise to assume they do take measures to protect one another, seeing how they all view each other as family. Hell, it's even canon that Lady Dimitrescu goes out of her way to protect Daniela. So why is the thought of Cassandra being protective so bizarre to some people? I hate that many authors in this fandom often write her as though she's simply a cold sadist that cares for no one but herself. In my opinion, it's a very bland take on her character when you can dig much deeper into who she is. She may act like she cares for no one but herself, but like I mentioned earlier, I believe that's just a face she puts on. I feel like she struggles a lot with her emotions and what she's supposed to feel, likely a little detached from them, perhaps from being the resident torturer. So she chooses to be this sarcastic asshole to push people away and prevent herself from caring for them. It's assumed she acts this way with her family as well, always keeping them at a certain distance. But when it comes down to it, she will tear the world apart to protect them. It's something I heavily admire about her, that she has taken it upon herself to be the sole person standing between danger and her family. I can already hear the comments whining that she's just a sadistic killer and has no feelings, and I ask that you keep them to yourself. You knew what you were getting into when you started this video. I made it clear. While I dislike the don't read argument because it's very misused these days, it does apply in this situation. Moving on. I also believe that Cassandra intentionally makes herself look scarier or goes out of her way to make people fear her more than they already do with the rumors surrounding her and her family. And that kinda ties in with her whole, I push people away to protect myself and so they can't hurt me. She's more complex than people seem to think. As a side note, I do think it's interesting to have her make her own weapons. She seems more like a hands-on kind of person, and it wouldn't surprise me that she expresses her artistic habits in more ways than just sketching or painting. Anyways, back to her personality. Considering she doesn't wear any visible makeup like her sisters do, it can be assumed she doesn't care much for her appearance or how others see her. In some ways, she's kind of like a less caring version of Bela. She just does not give a single fuck what people think of her, unlike her older sister, who pretends she doesn't but takes what people say about her to heart. We can also delve into how she sees herself, using both canon events and what I've used in my own writing. So, when talking about canon, when we see her in game, she uses her fly swarm the most often, and if you've played the game or seen gameplay, you would know that becoming a swarm kind of distorts the girls' bodies, makes them incomplete. I have a feeling Cassandra struggles with how she even sees herself, and this can tie in with how she remains a bit detached from her emotions and may be the reason why she doesn't really know how to perceive herself. Not that she doesn't know who she is or anything like that, but if you've read my writing or seen me talk about it before, if she ever draws herself, she just doesn't know how to. Everyone else? She draws wonderfully, right down to the minuscule details, but she draws herself with her face scratched out or incomplete. You've also probably seen me joke about Cassandra being an autistic, aromantic asexual lesbian, something that mostly started as a joke but has become something I can actually see with her. In terms of her sexuality, I'm pretty sure most of us are in agreement that she's a lesbian, but the erase comes from the fact that it's hard for her to trust people enough to want to pursue anything with them. Of course, aromanticism and asexuality are on spectrums, and I don't think she's necessarily one or the other, likely demiromantic and demisexual. This would mean she only wants a relationship or sex after she fully trusts someone or has a deeper emotional connection to them. This would obviously take a long time, but it would help her determine if the person is deserving of her trust and affection. Personally speaking, I highly dislike when people write her as a horn dog incapable of keeping her hands to herself, mostly because this often escalates into essay territory, which is just, it literally doesn't make sense for any of them to be written that way. They're noble women. But I do think she struggles a bit with the emotional aspect of relationships, always unsure of what to say or what to do, which is often a trait seen with autistic people. When I first started writing about her, I thought it made more sense for her to be emotionally detached because she doesn't trust easily, considering all she does. She also likely sees the worst in humans, since she's often down in the cellar tormenting them and can see them at their lowest, which would ruin her opinion of them further. The links to everything I've read on the matter of her actually being autistic to a degree will be down in the description, in the event you want to take a look for yourself. The only reason I'm not going to use text-to-speech with these is because they're pretty long and CapCut changed their text boxes because they hate me. This entire video has been a massive struggle to make so far. That being said, here are some screenshots on each 6 points as to why Cassandra is autistic. Now again, please remember that most of this is just a headcanon based on canon events. None of it has been confirmed, and the main reason I'm saying this is because I just know there's going to be at least one person that's going to whine about how none of this is in the game. I know, I'm just a mentally ill lesbian that loves these characters a little too much and thinks it's interesting to delve deeper into their personalities. Like I've said before though, I am still wary to assign a mental illness or disorder to a character when nothing has been confirmed. This is just a headcanon that she has autism, but with my research, I don't think it would be too far off to assume she has it to some degree. I think that's all I really have on the matter, but I do want to talk about some interesting individual things I've noticed about her. The first thing is, of course, her lazy eye. She does have one canonically, though you can really only see it when she's smiling or when she's excited about something, often during a hunt. It may just be a relaxed eyelid too, but there are pictures where you can see that her right eye kind of looks in a different direction than her left. I've not really included this in my writing, mostly because I wasn't sure where to include it or how to write it, but I wholeheartedly encourage others to give her one when writing about her. The second thing I want to discuss are her mannerisms when she's weakened. Each daughter has a different way of acting once they're weakened, and Cassandra is no different. We see her almost immediately change into an incredibly angry and violent person once she realizes the player knows her weakness, which I believe can tie in with the fact that she can shut off her emotions or turn them back on with ease when need be. She goes from being this sarcastic, sadistically playful person to the very one we hear the rumors about in the blink of an eye. She's pretty fast too, something I screamed at more than once when playing Village of Shadows. She runs after the player, darting to dodge bullets or other projectiles, and she lets out a frustrated yell before charging the player and attempting to slice them to bits. This little fact about her can back up the fact that she's the best huntress in the castle, considering she seems to know how to get around things quickly to protect herself. Don't even start with the, well, she's not that good of a huntress if Ethan beat her comments. Y'all already know my issues with this, and you wouldn't have progressed farther than Bela if they were allowed to be their literal canon selves. Thirdly, I want to talk about her middle child syndrome. We kind of see this throughout bits of the game, if you were paying attention or know enough about the phenomenon to tell. Anyways, the most obvious is the line that she gets whatever is left over from their victims, like hair, skin, and nails. This is likely because, even with their ranks, Daniela as the youngest is likely the most spoiled and would get more from their victims because of it. It's also pretty obvious that she has a lot put on her shoulders, likely more than Alcina realizes she's putting on, but she doesn't receive the praise her sisters do. She's expected to just do what is asked of her, and while she does, I don't doubt a little praise would go a long way with her. Finally, I'd also like to talk about her blatant disinterest in Ethan, since so many people have fought with me that she's not a lesbian, which, take one look at her and tell me she's not. When we first see her in the scene behind the text, all she talks about is wanting to kill him, her first line even mentioning how she hasn't cut open a man in a while. I had this argument a few months ago, but nowhere does she ever flirt with Ethan or hint she wants anything more than to kill him and eat him. Her playful attitude and personality does not equate to her being attracted to someone, considering she's a literal sadist and enjoys tormenting people. I've seen others bring up this point, and it makes a lot of sense for everyone, not just Cassandra. A lot of people do seem to forget they're a family of sadists, and I don't think it would be too far off to assume they make themselves out to be friendly, playful, or teasing just to torment their prey and have their blood taste sweeter at the betrayal. When it comes to Cassandra, we constantly see her teasing Ethan in a non-sexual, sadistic way, always mentioning how she wants to eat him, kill him, or torture him. She does canonically call him a good boy, but again, considering she's a sadist, I don't think this is meant in a, I want to fuck you way. It's more as a, good, you're right where I want you kind of way, and it's usually said either right after she attacks or right before. Before y'all start trying to say she meant it in a flirty way, may I remind you, once again, she is a sadist and wants to literally eat him and tear him apart. Thanks. I literally hate that I have to constantly remind people what she is, but if I don't dangle the words non-sexual sadist in front of some of y'all's eyes when talking about her, you'll intentionally misinterpret what I say. Anyways, y'all can obviously enjoy these characters no matter your own gender identity or sexuality. It's nice to bond with all sorts of people over our love for fictional sadists we want to destroy us. Just be respectful and be mindful of the spaces you're in when discussing these women. Personally speaking, I love them in a very gay way and think they're all homosexuals, and all I ask is that you do not fight with me on the matter when I don't ask for your opinion. That's not meant to be rude to people who are genuinely nice and respectful about the gay posts I make or when I talk about my personal headcanons. I'm talking about the people who are rude about it, try to hijack the post, or comment something along the lines of, "There's no way they're gay, they're all straight, shut up, dirty homosexual." Y'all know the type. I think that's actually all I have on the matter. And if you want to read the transcription rather than hear a nice robot lady talk for 15 minutes, it's in my Patreon. I'll have the link in the description. And no, you don't have to pay for anything, free of charge. I'll also make another poll after this is published for whose essay you want to see next, though it may take me some time to get it out. In the meantime, feel free to let me know what kinds of content you'd like to see while you wait, and I hope to see some of these headcanons in some of y'all's writings. I hope you're all staying safe and happy. Please remember to drink plenty of water and eat lots of food. Have a happy holidays. Let me know if you need anything, and thank you so much for watching.